invested in that.
Berserker and Sven wrote it, and they did just fine. I had more faith in you, I guess, than you did. I'm just a big Fudge believer.
I felt like such an old man. Everybody was doing that stuff, and then I was just sitting there talking esports business with esports business people.
I was just sitting there talking esports business.
That was my adventure. All right, our guest for the night is none other than Fudge. Shout out to Fudge. How's it going, Fudge?
Going pretty good. I do have to warn you that my internet seems to be cutting out for like 2 seconds sometimes, but it will overall be fine.
Okay.
It's just what happens at C9 internet.
We have not. No, your internet is. Oh wait, yeah. Never mind. We're good. For a second, I was worried about sponsor, but I think you're. I don't know. Either way, so good to have you on the show. I think it's really cool because we haven't had as many pro players on because you guys are all like busy now on Mondays when we do the show. So this is really fun, and shout out to I think both Jack and Croissant, because whenever we did live Hotline League last Friday, Jack had mentioned that maybe you or Sven would be down, but then you guys had scrims, and then when I was hanging out with Croissant this weekend, NRG coach, I guess I should say, he was like, you should really get this. So I pushed to see if I could make it, even though I think normally players are not down after a big match because they're just like just want to chill. So I thought it was really cool that you said you were down. So thank you. Oh, did we lose him? His internet dropped.
He looks very disinterested in what you're saying, or he froze. And I'm gonna guess.
Welcome back, Fudge.
And my internet is really good, guys.
How often is that gonna happen?
I really hope it stops happening.
Okay.
I feel like this is Gigabrain. Oh no, my internet.
I really
out once or twice, and then he's gone
really
off the
wanted to do the show, and if this just happens to keep happening, then I'm gonna blame the managers, because I complain about the internet cutting out on this PC and in this house, and not fixed. So.
Well, this is the last time Trans ever.
I really want to do the show, guys, but my internet is unfortunately too bad. So I'm gonna go. Thanks for having me on.
Not in my control. Not in my control. Anyway.
All right. Anyway, shout out to Alienware for sponsoring the show. We'll talk more about them later. But I guess, Mark, we'll do a quick little blurb with you before we go. We switch over to Fudge because we don't know how long we're gonna have him. But what did you watch on the plane?
I didn't watch anything on the plane. I got Vampire Survivors on my Steam Deck, and it was perfect for flights. It just made them melt by. Steam Deck is OP, Switches are OP. If you can afford it, I highly recommend getting some mobile gaming station.
Okay. Have you watched anything good lately?
Yes, I'm watching Beef, as some people in chat are saying. I watched episode 1 of Beef. It's so fucking good. Someone else mentioned Swarm. I watched some of Swarm. Swarm was also really good. Survivor new season's on. Love is Blind. A bunch of anime. Good new season of anime. I don't know. Lots of stuff.
Well, there you go. What are you watching lately, Fudge?
I don't watch TV shows. I only watch VODs.
What did you do on the plane ride to and from Raleigh?
I watched
VODs.
I watched back the VODs of our games to review them, and I listened to music.
Gotcha.
Listened to Tame Impala. That's about it.
Gotcha.
What do you do for fun that's not VODs?
I play ARAMs with my friends. That's all I do, and it's League of Legends. Another League of Legends. My entire life is consumed by League of Legends at this point. I've just accepted it. I'll just play League of Legends 24 hours of the day.
Respect. All right. Well, let's get into this past week. So, I was thinking about this before the show started. In the past 7 days, we had CLG become NRG. We had Bjergsen announce that he's officially just out. Like, no coaching, no management. He's just like, I'm done. Goodbye. We had the entire finals weekend. And then, as of about an hour before the show, and I really appreciate her timing her announcement for Hotline League, Jackie announced that she's stepping away from Riot and the LCS to focus on her health. Hope she feels better, and let's be respectful of her health as we go through the show. But obviously, that's a lot of things to happen in 1 week. This might be. I'm trying to think if there was ever a bigger week in LCS. Like, I know obviously we've had crazy weeks where like with roster changes and rumors like that, but just from a sheer amount of things happening in a 1 week period, it's been pretty bonkers. So, yeah, a lot to get into. I don't know, Mark, if you
There was
want.
also.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's also the rumors of Dig and 100 Thieves looking to sell their spot.
Those kind of got squashed a little bit.
Yeah, by the guy who reported them.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are for people who are not familiar with the scene. You might hear us like something like that and think, oh, those teams are trying to sell their spot. But what you need to realize is that like every team is permanently willing to sell their spot for the right amount of money, and are like pretty frequently putting out feelers. I guess there's some like C9 is probably not going to do that. Team Liquid's probably not going to do that. So like a lot of the teams though, it's like they're in permanent feeler mode.
Yeah, John Robinson kind of talked about it on the 100 Talk podcast that he went on, the last one they ever did. It was last night. He talked about it a little bit. That's over on the 100 Thieves subreddit if people want to look at that clip. But yeah. So.
Yeah, so that one's squashed, but it was something else that happened and blew up on Reddit.
So what you guys are telling me is that LCS is dying and I'm moving to EU.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah. I
should
can't
put out
ask
some
you what
feelers.
team you would join because I think that would break your tampering.
I'm not gonna say anything about that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's dead. It's dead. Do we want to all talk a little bit about the sort of conversation that I saw online about like the arena being empty at the LCS weekend? Because I saw a lot of that stuff, and I don't know how we all felt about it, but I thought maybe we could dive in and chat a little bit and share our personal impressions. What do you think, Fudge? Was it
From my perspective, it was like 80% full. Maybe not the top, like, I didn't see the absolute top of the stadium, but when I looked at the crowd, I didn't see many empty seats, at least for our game. I remember after the GGS and FlyQuest series...
Dude, that was so fucking funny.
Dude, we were so mad because we were told to do this like standoff thing, and we're gonna wait till after the interviews and after like whichever team wins. We're gonna wait for the interviews, and they're gonna go to analyst desk, and then we'll do the walk-in. And we had to go there after the team that had 2 wins. Like so as soon as one team got 2 wins, which I think was GGS. No, it was FlyQuest.
No, Fly after game 3 had 2.
Yeah. FlyQuest. And then we went to the venue, had to wait like 3 hours for the game because we went to game 5, which I was okay with because like it was fun watching like a game 5 series, obviously. But then they kept it secret that there was a walk-in for some reason. They had to keep it secret for the hype. And then everyone left, and we were just standing there like laughing our asses off because like we're just gonna walk into an empty fucking stadium, and it was just I don't know.
thought that was so funny. I couldn't stop myself from just tweeting. I was sitting up in the upper areas watching the crew, and I was just laughing my ass off because I was just like, why? Like, for those of you that did not watch the end of day 1. What happened was basically what Fudge said, which is they went through the whole best of 5, then like 30 minutes pass, I think. At least 20, but probably like 30.
I would say 20 is
and it's like raining outside, and it's getting late, and so everybody's leaving because also like you're gonna go wait for your Uber or whatever forever, and so after everything is done and you think that you're gonna like the broadcast is gonna end, they're like, but wait just a second, because we've got Cloud9 here to deliver the fucking trophy, and you guys walk out, and you put it on stage, and I'm just the entire time I'm like, no, and it's so funny too because I was like, why did they just cancel this? Why didn't somebody go like, hello, we've got nobody in the audience, please cancel the walkout, like, and then there were all these like sweeping shots on you guys with the empty stage, and I think they were able to use some of it as footage for the next day, and like they could use the close-up shots to make it look kind of cool and all that stuff. And I don't even look at it like this is not me dogging on the LCS, right? Like I know other people would do that or whatever. I think it was just a funny miscalculation that like they learned a lesson from that they won't do it again. But it was it felt comical in the moment. So I
literally when I heard what the plan was, by the way, the day before we had rehearsals. The day before GGS and FlyQuest, all 3 teams went to the stadium to do rehearsals for like, if you make the finals, this is the walkout for the opening ceremony and everything. And then when they told us the next day, or like it was that night, they didn't actually do the rehearsals for us to do the walkout. Like they didn't like actually fully plan it. So I'm kind of shitting on the LCS here. But anyway, they didn't plan it. So we didn't even know where we had to stand. Like they had to explain it to us like 10 minutes before we did it. And they had to like keep saying it to like make sure we understood. And then like as soon as I heard that we're doing the walkout after game 5 and like the interviews and stuff like that, I was like, no one thought this through. Like everyone's gonna leave. No one is staying for like, you know, just to stay in the stadium for fun. And then obviously what happened. They learned them. I'm sure they, as you said, they learned. I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. It was just. I'm sad you guys had to wait there, but it was funny.
What you both failed to understand was that it was a comedy bit, not a hype bit.
Yeah.
Honestly, fair enough. Like,
Catching up with LCS audience. Sorry, LCS audience isn't here.
catching up with Double Lift featuring LCS.
People in chat are like, "Yeah, I was there. I would have watched. I would have." Funny. All right.
On the fullness thing, I was talking about it was unfortunate the like most populated region of the place is the side, like the long sides, because that's where the best screens are for viewing. And they take the shots down from one of the sides, so you don't see the near side, and the far side is blocked by the screen that they're filming on. And then the corners, no one wants to see the corners are the worst, but that's the only part of the seating that you can see. So it does make it visually look really bad. Plus, the entire rows you can kind of see in front of the casters, those are entirely empty too. Because just like so that they had a view and that we could walk around and stuff like that. So,
so one thing I heard that somebody was talking to, I was talking to a random person that I ran into outside of the venue, who was telling me that I guess in one of the newer venues in the U.S. they went and changed all of the seats, the colors of the seats, because in this venue the seats are all red. And when they're black, it's a lot harder to see that they're empty. But when they're red, it's just like a bright red. And so like it's an issue in this arena, but apparently in one of the newer arenas they made that same mistake, and then they went through and like literally reupholstered or covered all the seats because they would just get flamed for it always looking empty during sports games. So I think it's just a confluence of things. I mean, I know some people will say copium or whatever, but like there was no point in time where I was ever looking out being like, man, this place, I mean, it was definitely not as full as Chicago, but also like, it's Raleigh. Like I don't expect it to be as full as Chicago.
Yeah. I honestly, I still think it should have been more cool. There was some sections that were pretty, like the corner sections. I know they're not great seating. I understand why there's no glasses to fill in, but yeah, they didn't fill in at all. So I don't know. It did feel a little bit more empty than a Chicago or something, but.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Papa Smithy in the chat feels like it was more full than Chicago and Houston. So I don't know. Maybe it's also hard because I don't know the size capacities versus all of them. Yeah. Also, okay, I'm just gonna say this. Maybe this is when I get in trouble with a bunch of people. There are a bunch of people that were angry about it being on Easter, and I'm like, there are sports games that happen on Christmas Day. Like Look, I'm not religious, and so I'm sure that that's a pretty big disconnect, but I just did not think that, like there were so many people that would message me that were like, can you believe that they're doing this on Easter? And I was like, I just don't. I mean, people could still watch, like, if anything, they can just watch. They can have it on wherever they're at. I don't know. Go hunt eggs, and then afterwards, turn it on. So, yeah.
Hunt eggs. My
bigger issue was that they did not ship the LEC schedule for it, and that they delayed the start. So much so that they had to delay the start of Sunday by half an hour because LEC was running over. Like that's something that I was really annoyed about. Where I was like, they went on this big old rant about scheduling.
Well, that's where I was going to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure around the schedule start time of the LCS, Valorant, CBLOL, and LEC were all and it's comedic to me that like the schedule was changed. One of the reasons being to avoid overlap for viewers and stuff like that. And our finals is when we have the most overlap we've ever had. Like it was worse than even before we cared about overlap. Yep, that was something that frustrated me quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Anything else? Okay, should we can talk, we'll take calls on everything, and hopefully we can aim stuff a little bit more towards FUD, but I think it's probably fair to take at least 1 or 2 calls about things like the CLG NRG news and the Bjergsen news and the commissioner news stuff, and there's so much to dive into, so I guess we should just start going on it. But Mark,
But what do you think about scene? Are you a scene thinker, or do you just head down, play ARAMs and pro games?
Thinker, what way? Are you talking about LCS?
Yeah, like just the scene. How the scene's doing.
The stuff that, like the industry side of it, the business side of it. Like, do you think about LCS viewership ever? Do you think about?
I mean, I think about LCS viewership a lot. It factors in, it's all about like my career's longevity, obviously.
I mean, you say that, but like a lot of pro players are like, I don't know, man, it's something I can't control, so I just show up and lock in my champion.
I can control it like a tiny bit. Like, obviously I could be like streaming every day and doing a bunch of content and trying to like push the LCS a lot, and I could definitely be doing a better job of that, that's for sure. I am definitely lazy on that front, but yeah, I mean, overall I'm a little bit worried because, you know, I just don't think viewership is very good, to be honest, to my
I got a
knowledge.
question for you. How do you feel about the schedule change? I've heard some pros talk about it, but I don't know if we've had any on the show talk about it. How have you felt about like Thursday, Friday? Have you at least have you enjoyed it, or do you miss Saturday, Sunday?
I prefer Thursday, Friday, just because Friday night usually people want to go out and do things, and Saturday is your off day now, so you can actually go out with your friends and like actually have dinner with your friends when it's not, you know, when everyone else is doing it, you know, because before it was like Sunday's my off day. People for the most part like don't really want to go out as much on Sunday, and it's just a lot worse for your life. In terms of like viewership, I have no clue like what it was like for the LCS. I don't know if it was better or worse, but generally I actually prefer it as a player.
Well, while we're going through this, I think Mark is going to start pulling takes. So make sure you're dropping those in the sub takes, subtopics.
I'll do the spiel.
Yeah. Oh, go for
In
it.
case there's some Cloud9 fans that have never come here before too. This is a live call-in show, so you can go ahead and join the Discord with Travis as you stay in the chat. That's where we'll be pulling the takes from. Go ahead and join Pleb Calls or Sub Calls voice channel. When you get in there, mute the microphone. And then in the text topics channel, Pleb Topics and Subtopics text channels, that's where you go ahead and write your takedown. If I like it, I'll pull you into the waiting room, which is a voice channel you'll hang out in until it's your turn to come on air. We'll do a quick mic check, make sure things work. And then you'll be on air talking to Fudge about how they're going to destroy T1 in their revenge match at MSI.
By the way, I agree with you, Fudge. I would say that TGI prefers LCS on the weekends. Travis Gafford prefers LCS on Thursdays. I can draft on Sundays and do other things on the weekend. And it's just really tough to do that on whenever you go. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. I mean, viewership, I don't think is... Viewership's gotta be down this split. I haven't seen anything yet about where it's like taken everything together, but yeah, I mean, I feel like it's probably down to these two.
Esports charts already did that.
Did they do it for everything? I thought they just did it for playoffs, but maybe I misread it.
No, that's just spring split. So if you go sort by games, it's at around 110, 109,000, I believe, and spring or summer last year was at 124. So
we're down from summer, which normally spring is stronger. So.
Yep. Yep.
Cool. Good news.
Yeah.
Alright guys, who wants to work at McDonald's with me?
I will open up a burger joint, and all the LCS pros will be just regular employees there.
Dude, that would be sick.
And it'll be come see your favorite pro players these days. Drive through.
I didn't want to be too. I thought this was too doomer to put on Twitter.
Flip.
I thought this was too doomer to put on Twitter, but I tried to start one of those like low-key chains where it's like, share your plans for when esports, your career plans for when esports dies, and everybody could just be like, oh, I'm gonna go do this, or I'm gonna go do that. Yeah, fun times. All right, what's up? We got Mark pulling takes right now. Let's see, Fudge. I mean, how did you feel about the finals? Because I think Sven was a little disappointed in like the team's performance in those first couple. Like he seemed more frustrated that it took so long rather than like, haha, we won. I mean, I think he's happy they won, or that you guys won, but he seemed kind of frustrated. What was your vibe?
Yeah, I mean, all of us had the expectation that we were going to stop finals, to be honest. After watching GGS Fly, we felt like they were really bad. And the first 2 games, we did not play well, very clearly. And got stopped in early game. So, even though we won, which is nice, at least from my perspective, what I think the other players feel, and definitely how I feel, is just that like we want to do well internationally, because LCS was already sort of expected for us to win after we 3-0 FlyQuest playoffs, and we already had like the expectation to win finals. And I can see why he was disappointed, but realistically, like if we think about it, like guys who are champions, let's not be depressed. Let's not be sad about the series. Obviously, we're all gonna make mistakes. We were kind of expecting that we were gonna have a little bit of like burger flip early games, because GGS's early games are actually pretty good. Compared to like the other LCS teams, they're way more aggressive. I think River finds really good gank angles, and he exposed us quite a bit. So, yeah, a little bit. Still a lot to work on. Still a lot to work on for sure, but maybe I won't.
Well, it looks like we got some folks in the waiting room. So
Yeah, it was. I'll chime in quickly. It was funny seeing their interviews and you guys trying not to be humorous about it, being like, man, we knew we'd get a fucking win, and then we just like didn't smash them like we thought we would. Sven was like, it's cool that I can play bad and still win a title.
I don't think he played bad. I mean, maybe the first 2 games.
He said something like that, like you know, I don't have to play my best.
yeah, he was like, I've got such good teammates that I can struggle in the first couple games and still win or something.
Although I feel like every player on our team feels that way. They're like, oh, if we play bad, like our teammates will generally do better than the enemy team, so it'll be okay. You know.
I remember that was what I feel like that was the quote that Peter had back in 2015 when CLG finally won. That was just like he was so happy, where he's like, if any one of us steps, has like a bad game, the other 4 just step up, and I feel like that's how a good team. You find a good team oftentimes, because there is always variance in every match, and so you'll always have one player that's gonna have a rough go of it or something. And yeah, so I think that's cool. All right, looks like Mark is off to go grab our first caller. Shout out to add-ons for Clearly, Jason Krieg, Cool455, Sushigasm, and Matt is Bleak, as well as Inwellen, and It's Veritas for the subs. Thank you everybody for that. We got a lot of people in the chat today, so it'll be a fun episode. Mark should be back in just a moment with our first caller, and here we go. It's Dean. Dean, where are you calling from?
Hello, I'm calling from Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
And you've called in before, yeah?
Yeah, I was the speaker guy that gave you shit that one time.
Oh, right. Okay, what do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, basically, I think that there's a lot of people in the LCS Discord that were hard flaming Vikla, Winsome, and Ayla like all season long. Just inconsistency issues. It's like, guys, all they need to like improve is just like have a player coach, and like C9 kind of showed that having those positional coaches can drastically improve.
So you feel like those guys just need player coaches?
Yeah.
Is that the take? What the hell?
Did you have another take as well, dude?
The other thing was C9's best.
I said that's the one I was pulling you for. I'm a troll.
We'll just go off the other. It's fine. We'll make mistakes. We'll go off the other thing.
No. Why not?
Shut up, Mark. Fuck you.
You want to talk about FlyQuest?
Honestly, okay, I'll respond to the first take. I didn't see that many people flaming Vikla throughout the regular season. Did that really happen?
It started at the end, towards the end.
Towards the second round robin, he was hinting a little bit.
Okay. The Ayla thing, like, honestly, I kind of feel bad because I feel like me and Sven, like, joking on broadcasts about how bad Ayla played kind of pushed also a lot of fans to, like, shit on him even more. Like, yeah, I mean, I agree he underperformed for sure. But Winston during regular season, I think, played pretty well. And I don't think he was, like, a liability in playoffs. Like, I don't think he was, like, clearly, like, the reason they were losing games. So, I think Winston actually did really well. Vikla, obviously, I think, like you guys said, towards the end of regular season playoffs, I think underperformed compared to all the other mid laners. At least in the top 3, I think he was definitely the worst. But the player coach thing, I mean, it's hard to say. I definitely think like player coaches help a lot on C9. We obviously have a lot of them and really good ones. But it also is up to the player to be willing to work with those player coaches and be very open, receive the criticism, which sometimes players aren't like that. So
yeah, I feel like just get a player coach is. I mean, you could just use that for any player that's underperforming, right? Like, so I don't know, Dean, if that just feels so broadly applicable. It's hard to just be like, well, just get a player coach, and every player will suddenly be amazing as soon.
I mean, Palfox went from like bottom 2 mid to like stub for all pro. When he got his direct player coach.
Yeah, but you also might just might just be the fact that like teams who have player coaches are also naturally going to have better infrastructure, like the correlation versus causation. Right?
Well, and like he wasn't on. Like he had split where he wasn't. So I mean, I'm not saying that player coach is bad. But I think here's my hot FlyQuest take. You can tell me what you think. If FlyQuest never had this support debacle thing that happened, they probably would be at MSI. I think the fact that they, like, if they just either stuck with Winston from the entire time, or Ayla never had this, like, didn't show up at first, or whatever, it wouldn't cause this, like, rift, potentially, or the need to swap things in the middle of, like, the postseason. And the fact that they were up and should have won Game 4 against Golden Guardians, they threw it. They were not a great team. Golden Guardians is currently the better team, and I don't disagree with the fact that they won. They're representing us, but I can't help but feel that, like, if this team just was like any team that had all 5 from the beginning, they'd probably just go to MSI. They still lose to you in the finals. Like, you know, they would probably be our reps. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree with that. I think it's really, really difficult. Well, to be honest, it's like it's hard to say, like, 'cause, I mean, we swapped players as well in the middle of the season, and then we just got better. So, I mean, I feel like it's hard to tell with that, but I do feel like with some, like, I feel like they should have just made Winston the main support after like a couple of weeks of Ayla, because I feel like he was pretty clearly better, at least when we scrimmed against him, and I feel like whenever I watched the stage matches, I just felt like I never saw Ayla do anything that was better than Winston. And I feel like they just kept him because like that was what was supposed to happen.
Killing spree.
Yeah, I agree with you that if Winston was just the player of the entire split, and I'm not sure if it's true if Ayla was the player of the entire split, to be honest. I'm not too big on Ayla, personally. Maybe a bit of OC ego with that. But
Your team has destroyed
I do have confidence that if Winston was the start of the entire split, they would have been fine.
Yeah, 'cause I think, like, it's obviously hindsight. Right. I assume if I was to insert myself in the life, what happened was, like, Ayla signed with you under the premise that he was the starter. Once he gets his visa, just because you were 8-1 with Winsome, it's like, it's not your spot anymore. Would feel terrible for him. They try to go back to the original.
Well, they were also
arrangement.
losing in scrims, right? So like they all thought they were not as good as. That was the whole thing in the beginning of the split, was that like FlyQuest was getting trashed. So they're probably winning, but then like the vast majority of the time they're actually losing. So they're like, oh shit, maybe we're not that good. We need to actually win.
Did FlyQuest themselves say that they were losing scrims a lot?
Yes.
Okay.
Spica, in an interview when they were still doing pretty well, made a joke or two about how they were like getting crapped on or something.
Yeah,
And
I
like
don't know.
every
I can't
team
remember.
that I interviewed throughout the first half of the split was like, yeah, we're not really sure why FlyQuest is winning because like we just trashed them all week long in scrims. Like it was just.
I don't know, it's weird. Because we were scrimming like TL, and apparently TL was just shitting on everyone in scrims. And I was like, really? Like, that's really weird. So when I hear these rumors about scrims, I'm just like, are these even true? Like, are people just making it up based off like one scrim set? Like, where they won like 4-2 or something, and they're like, oh yeah, we're shitty on FlyQuest and scrims, because that's how pro players are sometimes.
I mean, I heard it from enough places, including FlyQuest, that like I'm pretty confident they were not doing well in scrims early.
I think if Fly said it themselves.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, this split was also just the like scrim data space. For like CL and DG were off.
So let's move on to the actual take from Dean, which is you said that C9 is going to be the best Western team.
Yeah. As of right now, I think they're better than either two LEC teams. Obviously, they're better than the Golden Guardians.
Okay. Any empirical evidence or any reasons why you have those thoughts?
Like biggest thing is like they've shown that they can carry through every single role, and we know historically that they can carry through every single role. And like their weakest player is Sven, should have been first all pro. Maybe not. He's not carrying, but he's like a tier or maybe a tier like that. Still really damn good. So like think of any Western team right now is JDG or like C9's probably.
Has destroyed a turret.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't really watch LEC closely, so I actually don't know if they're even good. I just know that oh, I'm not missing anything. Jesus, man, this is an NA fan right here. Anyway, I just know that like I talked to M&S, and I know M&S watches it really closely, and he was like, oh, I feel like this year LEC is weaker than previous years. So
That
at
seemed to
least
be like the
M&S
community take as well, I feel like.
Yeah. So, I mean, if everyone's saying it, maybe there's a reason for it. I don't know, because I don't watch it that much. I do think that at least whenever I watch the top laners like play, like I'll watch like snippets of like the laning phase and like what they're doing in lane in these certain matchups, I'm a little bit confused. Like I don't feel like they're playing very well. So I'm not really like worried. I think Photon's actually pretty good when I watch him. I think he's probably the best top laner when at least that I watch.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say who's going to be good at MSI. I still think there will be close matches between us and whichever LEC team it is that's first. But I've always felt like I feel like the past 2 years, like when we played Fnatic last year at Worlds, and then we played against Rogue in 2021, I didn't really feel like LEC teams were like that much better than NA teams. At least like not that much better than us. I always felt like it was really close. So the EU better than NA meme, I think, is a bit gone at this point. Like after like G2, the G2 team that was like obviously really good in finals. So I don't think we're gonna like shit on any EU team. I don't think they were clearly better. I mean, EU is still a good region. I think overall EU is still a better region than NA. So
Mark, you and I haven't really been watching much, right? Or have you caught any of the finals and all that?
No, I just watch stuff in the morning before like our broadcast. Someone always watches random other things, and sometimes on the weekend I'll watch their games. The thing that's weird, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the top 4 currently in spring, or yeah, in their spring season, the top 4 from their summer season. Oh my god, I can't speak. Top 4 from their winter season are currently bottom in their spring season. So like things are kind of up in the air right now. They still have a ways to go. They have to finish their like group stage and then get to their playoff stage. So they are like going right up against the very limit.
Because G2 qualified in spring, right?
Yeah, G2
Yeah,
Or
qualified.
winter. They qualified in winter.
God, we are
I
such
keep doing that too.
Americans. Wow, we are Americans, guys. We do not pay attention to any other country.
Fudge,
Moving on.
Fudge with his heavy Australian accent says we are such Americans, guys. That's how you know he's been in the LCS long enough.
But Fudge's American accent was great when he was making fun of Thunder Thieves in the C9 React video.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty
appreciate
good at it at this point.
So like, there's all those rumors that LCS is going to move to LEC's like system, and I'm really hoping that LCS holds off on like committing to that plan until we actually see. Like, it'd be very fascinating if G2 just sucks at MSI but qualified like months ago or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I have been cautiously optimistic for this schedule of the LEC, but I have been also vocal about the potential downsides, which like I think a lot of people are just ignoring. One of which being qualifying for championships generally across the board. And like people like qualifying for tournaments months before that tournament happens, with how League of Legends is volatile. And then I also am not sure if the viewership kind of strain, the tax on doing it so much burnout will be very bad by the time summer rolls around.
Hey Dean, thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we move on?
No, just want to shout out.
I mean, they qualify, but am I wrong in saying that there's some championship points, or is it not championship points at all? I thought it was they auto qualify, but someone can get more points than them or something. I don't remember. Yeah, there are championship.
No,
points.
I think Jack is saying he doesn't want. So Mark is doing the thing where he
okay.
reacts to Twitch chat without providing context. Jack in the chat says no champs points. G2 qualify months early sucks, and I assume he's saying like, I don't want there to be
We don't want
champion
that.
point because of that.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
Jack,
yeah.
this Friday, let them know at the owners meeting that you don't want that.
I have a thing about the format. I don't know if I'm completely leaking and I'm gonna get in big trouble here, but
Never.
Travis, did you hear anything about 3 international tournaments?